much better. I actually did this project like a few days before they actually started the recommendation, so it was a weird coincidence. But anyway, let's jump into it. So, what is the newcomer process like of arrival to Canada? So, just in a broad sense, so you have arrival, which is getting your visa set up, getting your immigration forms, and arriving to Canada. Then you have settlement, which is settling into your home. That could be mortgage, you could rent a home or buy a home. And then you have employment, so that's getting a job. Now, a thing that Canadians take for granted is cellular access, because we don't really think about it because it's such a like unconscious thing. We always have our phones. We always have access to like communication with people. We can always like call our friends or call our boss, and we can access the internet at any times. But actually, immigrants, when they come to Canada, they won't necessarily have a phone plan set up. And if they have phones, then they need a SIM card. So they don't have, they have limited cellular access in that time between arrival and settlement. And that's when you want to get them, because that's when they're looking for a bank also, or usually. So what does that mean for them, that they don't have cellular access? So that means they can't communicate efficiently at all times. So if they need to communicate with family, if there's an emergency, they can't necessarily do that. If they can't access the internet, so that could also mean support and aid. So if they needed to know where, let's say, the nearest Loblaws was, because they don't know where they are, then they can't necessarily do that. They can't access the internet. So my proposal, again, is that we offer free SIM cards. I'll get into the details, but just in general, it'll help them communicate, helps with communication, connection, and support. So that's three big factors that immigrants need when they first come to Canada. So first, just signing up for the SIM card. You can, like in my proposal, the SIM card can be signed up pre-arrival and post-arrival. So pre-arrival would be ideal for getting the SIM card as soon as you arrive to Canada. So what would that look like? So I don't have the UX design, but you're on the TD website. You submit a picture of your passport. After a few days, they verify it, or it's verified instantly. And then they say, where would you like your SIM card to be mailed to, and what specific date are you immigrating to Canada? So let's say I'm immigrating July 5th. Then they'll say, all right, we'll mail it to this address at July 5th. And then as soon as you get to your address, when you immigrate to Canada, you'll have your SIM card ready. So it's instantly there, right off the bat. And that's the free SIM card. Also, some people also like to do things in person. So you could also have a post-arrival feature, which is you can just call the branch and get a meeting set up. But of course, it's easier for immigrants if they get it as soon as they arrive to Canada. So what would the SIM cards actually look like? Because it's very vague just saying give them free SIM cards. So my proposal, there's two different types of SIM cards. There's the free feature, which is just anyone can get that, any immigrant with verified foreign identity, which is the passport. And that would look like 50 megabytes, which is very minimal, and 2 minutes call Canada-wide. So as soon as you get to Canada, you'd have that SIM card, and then you could use it to call if there's an emergency, or you can use it for data. And then once you exceed your limit, or once you get to the limit point, then their notification pop up saying, oh, you've exceeded your limit. Now, sign up with TD to get the membership SIM card. So you're exposing them to this, so you're giving them this free SIM card, and then once they exceed it, then they get the option to go for the membership SIM card. And the membership SIM card comes with 500 megabytes a month and 20 minutes Canada call for 3 months. So that's like a little plan for recently immigrated newcomers. So that's, I think that number, 500 megabytes plus 20-minute call, is ideal for people who are just coming to Canada and who need it in, let's say, emergencies, or need to communicate with family or co's, their boss, and that's pretty good number. And when that one would expire, if they decide to sign up with TD, then they would ask if they want to be charged for the SIM card plan. So you wouldn't just give them this free thing forever. It's 3 months, and then they would charge them. But it's like a nice welcome package, and you get this SIM card. Now, how would you filter out? Because we don't want necessarily Canadian citizens getting this package, because it's kind of like taking advantage. We want to focus immigrants. So how do we do this? Well, first of all, there's proof of foreign nationality, which is a good way of filtering people. So even if you get your hands on, like let's say in a foreign passport, so let's say your friend has a foreign passport, and you want to use this to get the free SIM card deal, then even if you do that, the SIM card comes with very minimal amounts of data and phone plan call, so it's not really ideal for a Canadian citizen who already has a phone and most likely a SIM card plan already set up. It's the minimal amount of data and the minimal amount of call time makes it unreasonable for people to take advantage of the system and to get a bunch of free SIM cards. Even at that point, that amount of data and call time, especially the cost of the SIM card, is very minimal, so it's not that much actually on the line. You also have immigrant incentive, which is that the SIM cards are free. So a lot of times when people come to Canada, I actually have this experience talking to people who immigrated and what their biggest problems were. Actually, so I was calling people about like their banks and stuff, and some guy got really upset and threatened to call the police because he's very hesitant on why I was calling about banks and things like that. So I noticed a lot of people are like not sure who to trust. And if you have a free package that actually comes with your needs, but it's free, so there's nothing on the line, then it incentivizes immigrant population to take it because there's nothing to risk. Also personalized SIM, so you can have different languages set up in the SIM card where you'd have, oh, would you like to select Spanish or English or French? So it's suited for lots of immigrants and they have a wide range. So all this is great, but this doesn't matter if it costs too much, right? You have to think about the cost. So is it cost effective? Now, this is obviously some rough math. Like I'm not saying this is how much it's gonna cost, but assuming you get a 3-month plan with a reliable provider, cell phone mobile provider, like Lucky Mobile, which is actually a subdivision of Bell, and it's targeted towards immigrants, it would cost $45 for 3 months for the plan. So it would be 500 megabytes a month, 20 minutes call, 3 months, $45 per SIM card. That's acquired customer. The SIM card itself costs only around 20 cents to $1 on the low end, so that wouldn't be a huge problem itself. Plus, I did this customer acquisition rate, which is probably not exact, but I said if assuming an acquisition rate of 25%, which is if I give out 4 free SIM cards, only one guy says, I'll take the membership card, then the total cost per immigrant would be roughly $75. So per acquired customer, $75, which to me seems like a reasonable price to pay, especially if they're going to invite, especially if family's going to come along and each person in the family is going to probably go for the same bank as well. So what are the next steps for TD? First of all, you need to establish an infrastructure. What that means is, and also partnership. So what that means would be getting in touch with a mobile plan provider like Lucky Mobile, let's say, which I think is a really good one actually, because they have cheap prices as well. But getting in touch with them. Also getting in touch with Gemalto, which is the biggest SIM card supplier in the world. And they have relatively cheap prices and they're a very reliable company. So if you get those two partnerships together and you establish the infrastructure, also you need a way to mailing the SIM cards out to the immigrant population too. So having a relationship with Canada Post, let's say, then you'd have that infrastructure set up. The next one would be integrate the system into your already existing newcomer package. So you could have the same newcomer features, but just integrating the system in as well. Thirdly, campaigning it, so making sure that people know about the SIM card deal, and of course, word of mouth spreads if you know that everybody's getting a free SIM card. And finally, it would be expanding it. So if this thing takes off and it's a Canada-wide thing, then you could eventually expand to other countries and have the same features for other countries as well. So that's my plan for the SIM card distribution, and I think TD can take advantage of the SIM card and incentivize foreigners to come to TD with a free SIM card plan. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.